Hi, I'm Nat, and right now I want to talk about Disney's latest failure. And I'm not even talking about Indiana Jones and how that one is doing at the box office, or any of the other TV shows that are just utter complete garbage that they released in their failing streaming service Disney Plus. I'm talking about the live-action remake of the most classic and most important piece of intellectual property that Disney has, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Except now, it's not even Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures, whatever that means. A few days ago, the Daily Mail came out with some photos that were taken on set of this new production of Snow White and the Seven Magical Creatures. And when people say that they look bad, they look really bad. So I'm going to show you a few of them and why this is becoming such a big controversy and why people are already worried and kind of hating on this new movie before it's even out. So from the Daily Mail, it says, exclusive, Snow White and the Seven Politically Correct Companions. First pictures of new live-action remake of Disney classic shows stand-in princess walking with diverse band of merry men and women after row overusing dwarf actors, which I will get into in a little bit because Peter Dinklage, the most famous little person in Hollywood, apparently doesn't want anybody else to have the sort of success that he's been able to achieve. So from the top it says, hi-ho, hey-ho, it's off to the job center they go, for the Seven Dwarfs have been replaced by magical creatures for Disney's live-action remake of Snow White. The character of the fictional princess, who will be played by Rachel Zegler in the film, has been pictured for the first time with her new companions, who appear to be a mix of genders, ethnicities, and heights. And Disney came out and said that this wasn't Rachel Zegler, that it was a stand-in, but the problem remains that Rachel Zegler is, and I've never seen her in anything, but she might be a great actress, but she is a Mexican brown-skinned actress. And the title of the damn movie is Snow White. And we've seen Disney trying to reimagine and remake these new characters that are molded after characters that are very present in everybody's minds because Disney has great influence over all of us. And from these on-set pictures and from knowing what Rachel Zegler looks like, people are understandably noticing that the character that is typically described as having skin as white as snow and lips as red as rubies, well, isn't going to look like that in this new production. And this is all on purpose. Because me being a Mexican that looks basically as white as snow, I know that there are Mexicans out there that do not fit the stereotypical look of what most Americans and most people think Mexicans look like. And I think, honestly, in itself, that is racist, that they were looking for a Hispanic Latina actor, and they needed her to look the part of what a Hispanic Latina actor looks like. I've run into this in my personal life as well, when nobody believes that I am truly Mexican, because in a way, they're racistly assuming what Mexicans look like. And that's not even the main problem that this production is proving to have, but also rather that, number one, it looks like a cheap production, and I'm going to keep showing the pictures here. So these are the seven magical creatures, and the one person that is actually a little person, or a dwarf, depending on what offends your sensibilities. But we just take a look at them, they look like they just jumped out of A Night Out as the Village People, or like a very cheap production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or some other weird thing. And if you live in Vancouver, they look like they could be standing on any corner of Commercial Drive or Main Street. It just looks terrible, and it's sad that Disney has sunk to this level, and I mean, we know why. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But here we see Snow White with a dress that looks like it was got at Party City for a daughter that wants to dress up as Snow White. But not at all the standard of quality that one would expect from the giant corporation that is Disney. And there's a lot of the pictures on set looking terrible. And I mean, Disney and their defenders will come out and say that it's because they're not color graded and these were taken on an iPhone. But the main issues with the costumes and the race swapping remain, no matter how much color grading you do. Unless they're going to color grade her to look whiter, which in itself would also be racist. And one of the main issues that this production had, and this was from a year ago, was that, as I mentioned, one of the most famous little people in Hollywood came out to say that nobody else is allowed to have a role in a big production other than him. And so we see that Peter Dinklage a year ago came out to say that there shouldn't be any dwarves cast in this movie because it's offensive to his sensibilities. So here we see from Bounding Into Comics that despite Peter Dinklage's recent attempt to position himself as a progressive champion by rallying against the continued depiction of Snow White's 7 dwarf companions as dwarves, a number of other dwarf performers, including WWE star Dylan Hornswoggle Postel, believe that the Hollywood actors' commitment to being woke could threaten their livelihoods and ruin opportunities for others like them. And this is the person speaking out. And then a bunch of other little people actors came out to say it's not fair that he now gets to say that he's offended on our behalf when we would actually like the work and like to be represented in one of the few films that actually can employ and portray little people like us and give us a job with one of the biggest companies in the world. But no, Peter Dinklage had to be the only little person out there in Hollywood and be woke and be politically correct and chastise Disney for not being so. And so Disney caved, as it always does, and didn't cast anyone other than that one little person we saw in the production photos as a magical creature. Now we can't even say Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. I wonder if they're going to now take the 7 little Oscars that were decided for when Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs won Best Picture all those years ago. And here we see from the Daily Beast that at first Disney came out to say, no, those are not real on-set pictures, that is maybe a different production, but it has nothing to do with Disney. And a few hours later, they had to actually come out and say, no, they actually are from the production, but they're not official photos. So here we see Snow White's set pictures stir anti-woke criticism. Disney initially claimed the pictures from the live-action set were fake, but later backtracked. And we know the Daily Beast is a very woke, left-leaning publication, so it's a little funny that they had to put this little editor's note here saying that this story has been updated to reflect that after Disney's US spokesperson initially declared the photos published by the Daily Mail were fake, the studio later said the photos were from the production, but were not official photos. That just means that they were not officially taken by Disney, and that they are incredibly embarrassed by this. We also see here from the AV Club that Disney now says those Snow White photos are simply not official, and then we see that it was updated. So the update says, after initially telling the Daily Beast that the Snow White set photos were fake, a spokesperson now says the photos are in fact from the production but are not official photos. They regret the error, and they still look pretty fake according to the Daily Beast, but the stories had to be updated to reflect that. And we do see in the Daily Mail photos that it was an expensive set that they were on, because, I mean, not a lot of people are able to get these kinds of drones and these kinds of cameras and the kinds of equipment that are there. And me, from slightly being connected to the film industry here in Vancouver, we know what a set looks like, and that definitely looks like they were on set. And, well, why is this even happening? Why do we see Disney failing at every turn, getting more and more politically correct and woke and involved in politics, when initially the company was built by Walt Disney as an apolitical place where anybody could take their family and their kids and have a good time? And that was the main ethos of the company for years and years and years, up until about 2016, when they started getting more and more political as time went on. And with the recent switcheroos of CEOs between Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, and then Bob Iger again, well, we see that Disney is not the Disney that we all remember. And we also see this in the productions that they've come out with for years now. I mean, we've seen this when they acquired Lucasfilm, that came with Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and now we've seen how those have miserably failed, not just at the box office, but failed their fans and failed the characters that so many people around the world love. This was all thanks to Kathleen Kennedy and her feminist messaging that she wanted to insert into every single production that she touched, and therefore every single production that has failed since then. And recently, Ron DeSantis, think of him whatever you will, came out with an ad because he has been fighting with Disney as well after they came out against him, saying that his position on the trans issue wasn't the correct one and they couldn't support that as a company. Well, he came out with an ad to prove that Disney has been, in fact, trying to sexualize children. And I want to play a little bit of it because it poignantly shows that the people at the top, the CEO, the producers, and all the directors, all the people that are in charge of getting these things actually made, well, they all agree with having a secret gay agenda.
The notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing children, quite frankly, is preposterous and inaccurate.
Hello, and welcome to the Disney Plus This Is Me Pride Celebration Spectacular.
Texted me this morning, Gen Z is 30 to 40% queer than the other generation's mom, so Disney better get with it.
Our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda.
They've been really open to exploring queer stories. I'm on the production side. And so kind of the only way to have these canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual characters is to give them stories where they can be their whole selves.
I identify as a biromantic asexual. I want to add the pockets of the LGBTQ community that you don't see. I was I want to get gay advanced.
So we no longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's hello everyone or hello friends.
We were targeting Gen Z and millennials. We were targeting a younger...
And all this content's going to kids who don't know any of this.
Even more recently, we've seen the old CEO and now new CEO, Bob Iger, because he went and came, even though he was always there, telling Bob Chapek what to do. Well, we recently saw him say and ponder if maybe they need to sell off a few of their assets that they have, because the Walt Disney Company is a huge company with a lot of little other companies beneath it. So Bob Iger was recently mulling over maybe having to sell ABC, for example, or ESPN. And these are huge networks, but why is he wanting to sell them off all of a sudden? And why is Disney tanking so hard and not trying to even course correct or reshoot some things or rethink the way they're doing it? Well, maybe all of it is intentional. And this is just a theory I'm putting out there. But maybe Disney is intentionally trying to tank itself to lower its stock price, get their lower stockholders out, and maybe be bought by a bigger company. And this has been speculated out there in the wild web, that maybe that bigger company is Apple. And they're doing this to consolidate these two giants into one big mega giant that could now have the biggest share of the entertainment industry out there. And again, this is just a crazy theory, but it would make sense why they keep doing the same thing. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So why is Disney going insane? This could be a good answer for that question. And if you want to know more about the industry and what's happening with Disney and why it's happening and a bit of insider information, I would really recommend you subscribe to Valiant Renegade and WDW Pro and Legal Mindset, who has been covering all of the legal stuff that Disney's going through. He is a lawyer that works on special districts in Florida. And I will leave all the links to their channels down below. That is where I get all of my information about this. And they have a lot of interesting insider knowledge and tips that they get. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.